Geniuses are outstanding individuals in one or more fields. Could be physics, chemistry, music, painting, gaming. In America, besides many real geniuses, there are also a lot of bragging geniuses and those who have words put in their mouths. But really, in America, there are people who have reached the level of genius, so today I will summarize all the incredible geniuses in the world. And as always, the information I have is mainly copied from the internet. So if there is anything wrong or needing correction, please send a letter to the United Nations and comment below to correct it. Einstein, this guy is too famous, and anyone who's famous gets words put in their mouth. This can be considered one of the most important people who laid the foundation for modern physics, completely changing humanity's understanding of the universe, because this guy has the special theory of relativity and the general theory of relativity. Einstein was born in Germany of Jewish descent. And you know what it's like in Germany to be of Jewish descent. On the internet, it said that as a child he showed signs of intellectual underdevelopment, only starting to speak haltingly at the age of 3. But instead of developing a superior physique, he chose to go hardcore on his brain. Einstein's school days were similar to the average of other geniuses in school, curious and questioning everything around him and being called stupid, always asking about obvious things. When his teacher couldn't answer his questions, he realized this village pond was lame as hell, so he dropped out of school at the age of 15. It's said that he got a medical certificate stating he had a nervous condition to quit. After that, he went to Italy with his family. At 16, he failed the university entrance exam in Switzerland. I repeat, he failed at 16, not 18. The reason he failed sounds quite funny, as he got maximum scores in science subjects like math and physics, but failed the rest. But on the second try, he must have passed. Einstein first became known to the world thanks to his theory of relativity and the devilish equation E equals mc squared. But many people were still dissatisfied with him because the work he presented had refuted some of the previous theories of the classical physics monument, Newton. I looked into this and found it quite incredible, but I don't understand much. It's a bit too difficult for me. Because Einstein was a German of Jewish descent, he was pursued quite intensely by Adolf Hitler after he came with power. Einstein saw the situation was tense, so he fled to America, became a citizen, and settled there. America was like, nice, spontaneously adding a talent for the empire. Einstein understood how brutal Germany was, so he wrote a letter to the US government. How about we take one step ahead? And so America had the Manhattan Project and nuclear weapons were born. Some sources say that Einstein participated in making the atomic bomb, while some sources say he didn't, so I don't know which is correct. But I'm sure that in 1945 the US made the atomic bomb and tested the new product by dropping 2 bombs on Japan to see what would happen. And you already know the consequences.
Isaac Newton is one of the greatest mathematicians and most influential scientists of all time. He is particularly famous and well known for his law of universal gravitation. It's the 3 laws of Newton that you learned in high school. This is easier to understand than Einstein's theory of relativity, but in high school I still struggled head over heels with these things. The story of how he discovered gravity is known to everyone. While sitting under an apple tree, an apple fell on his head, so he asked why the apple didn't fall upwards but fell on his head. And of course, for all these years, we still wonder why it wasn't a durian tree. Newton is known as the father of classical mechanics, but for students like you and me, he's like the grandfather of exam questions, specifically in the old physics exams. But Newton's achievements are not limited to that. He was the first person to invent the reflecting telescope, discover the light spectrum, and find the speed of sound, and other things. In general, he is very smart. It's said his IQ is sky high, almost 200, so his research, discovery, and invention were very good. But it seems he was not very good at business investment. I searched online and found that he once invested in a certain SCI company and lost everything, about £20,000, which is about £4.4 million now. In short, he was scammed out of a lot of money. I guess this company's management was not good. If there had been better project management applications back then, Newton might have become very rich. From Newton's story, not everyone who is well-educated, knowledgeable, and talented can invest in business, so you should not depend too much on books that teach how to get rich, then borrow money and rush into investment, but start from the smallest things. There is an interesting thing I found about Newton. He was a virgin until the end of his life, and he never married or had any special relationship with women, just dedicated his whole life to science. Awesome.
Leonardo da Vinci.
the multi-level master, who is known as the most all-around genius of all time. This guy was proficient in everything, playing musical instruments, chess, calligraphy, painting. He knew everything, famous for roles such as painter, sculptor, architect, composer, mathematician, engineer, inventor, anatomist, and more. In general, it's not for nothing that he got the nickname multi-level master, but he is still best known as a painter with many timeless works, such as this one, or this one. I don't understand much about painting or art, but it seems that these paintings are really highly rated. There is also this painting of his that is recognized by UNESCO as a World Cultural Heritage. And of course, speaking of Leonardo da Vinci, no one doesn't know this painting, Mona Lisa, his most famous and most memed painting. In general, when the memes first started, they were funny and weird, but now they are a bit bland. There's a quite incredible detail about this painting. Leonardo had to dissect thousands of dead bodies to learn about the human body, which is how he could paint such a famous picture. But this painting is still not finished because his right hand was paralyzed when he got old. A detail is that he did not go to school when he was young, and if anyone hearing this intends to drop out of school, thinking that the average genius did not go to school, they should get rid of that thought because this guy self-studied at home. Leonardo da Vinci followed a teacher named like this to learn to draw. One time when he was finishing a painting, his teacher accidentally saw it, this painting, and the teacher saw that his student's painting was way beyond his level, so the teacher never painted again after that. +1 genius, -1 teacher. A rather big drama is that Leonardo da Vinci was once involved in an accusation of sodomy with a young boy who was a model, but it seems he was acquitted due to lack of evidence. After this incident, he was suspected by others of being gay. This is also quite difficult to say. Leonardo da Vinci was ambidextrous and liked mirror writing. That is, writing in a way that can only be read when looking through a mirror. Gradually, this way of writing was called Leonardo's script, which is quite magical. Many people have not even finished reading normally. He also had a very unusual way of sleeping. Every 4 hours, he would sleep for 15 minutes. So from sleeping 8 hours a day, every day, this guy only slept for 60 minutes. I don't know if it's effective.
A few moments later.
And it's actually effective. I've tried to apply it too. My 15 minutes is from 10 p.m. the previous night to 8 a.m. the next morning. Besides painting, he also showed himself as a genius in many other fields. As I said at the beginning, he had inventions in more than 50 fields and had ideas about technologies that would only exist much later, such as bicycles, helicopters, submarines, telephones, and so on. In the words of Gen Z now, it's nerf this champion for me, because this guy is too OP.
Mozart, the greatest and most famous composer and the most thoroughly squeezed child prodigy in the history of world music. This guy was really exploited like crazy. Mozart's father was a music educator, so a chip off the old block. It's not strange that he also had a natural talent in the field of music. At 3, he could hear sounds accurately and could imitate what he heard. At 4, he could compose music. But I'm pretty sure that composing at 4 years old, it wasn't very good. It's like a 4-year-old who knows how to write poetry and the poem has rhyme, but it's not good. But knowing how to do it is very good. His father saw that he was quite good, had the potential to study music. So his father taught him to play the piano and compose music, and so on. And his life of being exploited every day started from here. Every day he was forced to study music regardless of the circumstances, working hard day after day to compose and perform, and so on. At 6, he was performing in the capital, Vienna of Austria. At 7, he performed in Paris. After Paris, he and his family went to London to perform. In general, from a young age, this guy had traveled almost all of Europe to perform. Damn. At the age of 14, he would compose music in his head and then write it down in one go without needing any corrections. But his life also faced many difficulties. Simply put, he was hired by a lord in his hometown to play music for a cheap price. His music career was also limited, as he could not play music or compose as he wished. Finally, after many events, he quit his job to pursue his passion. Sounds like a youthful tale, doesn't it? It was only at the end of his life that Mozart's talent reached its peak with many famous works. Another detail I found is that Beethoven was also a disciple of Mozart.
Marie Curie.
We've been talking about men a bit too much now. Let's talk about women. The greatest female scientist of the 20th century, the only female scientist to receive 2 Nobel Prizes, and one of the first people to study radioactivity. In short, a top server in the field of chemistry. Like many other geniuses, Marie Curie was also very good and liked to read books. Became a top student at the university. In her 3rd year, she was awarded a master's degree in physics. In her 4th year, she was awarded a master's degree in mathematics. Her academic path was like that, but her love life was full of storms. Her first love was forbidden by the man's family because they didn't want a marriage of unequal status, I think. Proof of the reasons for breaking up in the old days. Later, she met and married a physicist named Pierre Curie, and her greatest success was the discovery of the phenomenon of radioactivity with new elements such as uranium, polonium, and radium. And at that time, it was not as advanced and modern as it is now. The world did not yet know the dangers of radioactivity to the environment or human health, and because she had prolonged exposure when researching radioactivity, her health deteriorated day by day. She and her husband received a worthy reward when they won the Nobel Prize for their research on radioactivity, and her research was widely applied in the treatment of cancer with radiation therapy. But the misfortune of Marie Curie's life also came from here. Her children could not live due to being exposed to radiation, and in the end, she also died due to anemia, I think. In general, this is also a case of dedicating one's life to science. Wonderful. Galileo. This is a mathematician, physicist, astronomer who is known as the father of modern observational astronomy, the father of modern physics, the father of modern science. Damn. 1/3 of human knowledge? Besides being the father of 1/3 of the world, he was the one who proved that the free fall speed of an object does not depend on its mass, but on the air resistance acting on it. In the past, and even now, including me, everyone thought that something heavier would fall faster than a lighter object. But this guy said that was not right. And now if you put a cat and a chubby cat, put them in 2 separate boxes with the same characteristics, and then drop the 2 boxes at the same time and from the same height, the result is that both boxes will hit the ground at the same time. But don't do that with a cat, do it with 2 rocks. I've only just researched this. I also don't know if it's true. In the past, when astronomy was not yet developed, people still believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. All other celestial bodies had to revolve around the Earth. This was spread by the Church and the Pope, so everyone believed and considered it the truth. This is called the geocentric theory. But Galileo did not accept that and studied day and night and discovered that all planets in the solar system revolve around the sun, and every planet also rotates on its own axis. This is called the heliocentric theory. And of course, at that time, he was considered crazy and no one believed him. Galileo was warned by the Pope and had to abandon the heliocentric theory, otherwise he would be punished, and so on. But the truth is still the truth. Galileo was still steadfast with his research. Before leaving the court, he still added one more sentence to vent his anger, and yet it moves. The Pope was like mind blown by the truth.
Charles Darwin. This is the father of the theory of evolution. A researcher in the field of nature, he was the one who discovered and proved that all species evolve over time from common ancestors through the process of natural selection. The first detail I found about this guy is that he seemed to be quite a party animal when he was in college, spending money on shopping, buying shoes, sandals, and stuff. Really had a lot of money. But like the average genius, although he was always out playing and not studying, he was still at the top of the graduating students. Quite a smartass, huh? Charles Darwin also had something in common with young people today, which is being afraid of marriage. He actually made a list of the pros and cons of getting married and not getting married. And in the end, he still chose to get married. He and his wife lived together for 44 years with 10 children. The unhappiness of Charles Darwin's family and lineage also began from here. His children, one by one, got sick, fell ill, and passed away. Only a few were left alive, but they were also extremely weak. The same goes for his later descendants. Looking back now, it is speculated that his family clan had had consanguineous relationships for a long time. And you already know what consanguineous relationships are. In general, in the past, there was not much understanding of genetics, inbreeding, and stuff. Plus, the clans wanted to preserve their wealth and power, so they arranged consanguineous marriages to be sure. So tragedies like the Darwin families were not rare. Another quite magical detail is that he never called it the theory of evolution. It is said that when he published the book and this theory, he was in a hurry, so it was mistyped as the theory of evolution. But initially, the name was very long, something like the origin of species through the tools of natural selection. But hearing the theory of evolution sounds more viral.
William Shakespeare is the great literary figure, the greatest playwright of England. This guy specializes in writing plays, and plays here means drama. That is, this guy is the lord of drama. The themes are murder cases, betrayal, and love stories, passion intertwined with jealousy, revenge, and so on, the most famous being Romeo and Juliet. I couldn't find many interesting details about this guy. His theater troupe was once involved in drama with the royal family, Queen Elizabeth I, I think, because his troupe performed a play with a royal theme without asking for permission from the government. In the end, the whole troupe was banned for a while. Besides that, it seems Shakespeare was very successful with writing and acting, so he was filthy rich. At 33, he bought a whole castle and had many other real estate properties in England. But it seems that later he was shunned by the entire theater industry for a long time when theaters turned his plays into musicals or mimes. It's said that this was done to mock his writing style. But as for the reason why, I haven't been able to find out. Maybe it's like, if you're too good, you get hated.
Louis Pasteur is the father of the vaccine industry and the savior of humanity. The internet says so. Unlike other geniuses who were smurfs from a young age, this guy seemed quite normal. During his school days, there was nothing outstanding, but he could still take the exam and get into a pretty okay university and earn a Bachelor of Science degree there. At that time, people did not know about the existence of germs, bacteria, so in medical treatment, it was still rudimentary, leading to many health problems such as not washing hands before surgery. Ugh, that's insane. And this guy was the one who discovered the existence and danger of microorganisms. Because of that, the post-operative mortality rate was significantly reduced thanks to disinfection before surgery. Another great success of Louis Pasteur was that he made the vaccine against rabies. In addition, he also invented many other vaccines to prevent diseases such as cholera in chickens, anthrax in sheep and pigs. What anthrax is, I'm not sure. Maybe it's like complaining a lot. In general, this guy is very incredible, a pioneer in the vaccine industry.
Nikola Tesla, the great inventor of the 20th century, the saint of saints, knowledge hundreds of years ahead of mankind, the one who holds the secrets of the universe. TikTok says so. Tesla has more than 300 inventions, especially the invention of alternating current, which is the electricity we use now. I have to admit that Tesla is really great, but it is said that because his thinking was too advanced at that time, no one could understand his ideas, so Tesla got the nickname of a mad scientist. He had a passion for the electricity industry and used to work with other geniuses like Thomas Edison. Then he invented the alternating current during this time. Edison was the inventor of direct current, so basically the ideas of these two guys conflicted with each other. There are many sources that say Edison used all means to make people fear the danger of alternating current. But Tesla demonstrated it to the whole world by lighting up 90,000 light bulbs at the same time to make it, wow. Later, he also launched a remote-controlled boat using radio waves. At that time, people did not understand the principle of operation of radio waves, so they considered his invention just a hoax and no one accepted it. But it is the foundation for the development of wireless devices today. Tesla also had OCD, simply put, Sitting at the dining table, if the bread was big and small, the food was not arranged evenly, he couldn't stand it. A detail that made him famous for his madness is his obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. He believed that he could do many things with these three numbers. I saw a source that said he used to walk around a building 3 times before entering it. Later, he always requested 18 towels, probably because it is divisible by both 3, 6, and 9. He lived in apartment 3327, probably because it is divisible by 3, and he died 3 days before his birthday. I don't know if 369 are the numbers for his descendants later on, but I think this kind of information is probably exaggerated on the internet. Or it's a media article from Elon Musk's Tesla company, like, the average way capitalists do things is like that. There are still many other geniuses like Thomas Edison, Van Gogh, Beethoven, Pythagoras, Archimedes, and so on. And that's only in the West, not to mention the East, so we will have a part 2 and part 3 if this video gets a lot of views. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos.